more general, more high-level questions. We'll also record this webinar, and all the questions asked in the box, in the chat box, we'll try to answer them in the following 45 to 60 minutes, depending on the number of questions and the number of participants involved. So we have Dmitry Zatuhin, the CEO of DuoK, with us. He's also initiator of the HackTheCrisis movement. We also have Wojciech Janek from the governmental side. We also have people involved in the organization from the legal perspective, also from the marketing side of things, organizers themselves. So you feel free to ask any questions in the chat box that you have. I think in the bottom of the tool.
All right. So should you like start asking the questions lively, or you would like to ask them on the chat so we can address them?
Dmitry, I think we have questions. We already have some questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's the first question from Philip in the chat box, so you can take a look. The question is about whether we should and a team should deliver ready-made and ready-to-use solutions on Sunday, or MVPs are also applicable. So I think it's a question about the form of submission. What does it mean that the submission is complete? So yeah, that's a good question, I think.
Great. So we are working in a hackathon mode. So during that hackathon, we do not expect that you deliver the working product. We expect that this will be a proof of concept, which will be solving some issues, and it will work in a minimum viable way. It should be. But that doesn't mean that that's the final version 1.0 or whatever it is, because best ideas, which will be top in every domain, they will be invited to continue their development in next weeks as MVPs. Okay.
All right, Philip, you might let us know if you got the answer to your question in the chat box, I think. So if not, we can elaborate on that more later on. We have another question from Andre. Isolation can be understood like to help to hospitals, doctors to connect with patients remotely in the hospital and detect when patients need something. I think it's a very good question about what we understand by the specific domain that we try to address. One of the three, it's isolation. So maybe we could elaborate on that more. Dmitry, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So the idea behind isolation is that that's one use case that Andrzej mentioned, that there are people who are currently staying wherever they are, and they are isolated from the society. Some of them more because of their presumptions or being very cautiousness, and they just don't want to go out, that especially seniors. And of course, you want to meet a doctor, and even with a simple case, then it's kind of a challenge unless some private medical companies, they have some of them remote solutions to do this consultancy, but not like the government health right now. It's also, they are focused on absolutely different challenges, which are critical ones. So probably that's the issue, also to help people with the flu or whatever it is, also to connect with someone who might help them or diagnose. So that's the first isolation issue. Let's say the second isolation issue, a case, is okay. How should I go out and make any like shopping, whatever, staying in a queue, or especially again touches more kind of cautious people, afraid one of getting the virus. There are also a lot of mental issues which happen. There are a lot of people who does need a human touch, and for them, switching to being at home all day long, it's kind of big stress, and also they might feel anxiety. And the our other issue, I imagine, is also about uh, people being together at home, who were used to be focused on career. So imagine that wife and husband or partners, they were both working all the time in the human environment, in the office environment. They even don't now know how now to be together whole day long. So there are a lot of different issues related to isolation. The second domain I can elaborate on would be the education. And there again, there are different issues, starting with educating people on what is important around the whole coronavirus, and finishing on uh, uh, how to bring the message to their children. What does it makes now, this whole situation? Why should we stay at home? Why shouldn't we play around on the playground all together with other children? And because of different probabilities of getting that. But also like simple questions. If I go by bus or by tram to any place and I touch other people, or if I go to the shop, should I then wash all my clothes or not? Uh, so that's the domain of different issues that might happen. The third one is the data and facts. So how can we work with how can we use the data which we can get, and switch on your imagination, that imagine that government might share some data with you, or maybe some telco company you might reach to get some data, or maybe you can collect 5 different data points, enhance them some way, structure them some way, and bring information, bring it in a way that people might use it. And facts, it's of course segregation of what is true and what is real from the fake things, and be fact driven, be data driven, rather rumor driven. So that will be these 3 main domains we're closely looking to. And of course, through all of them, impact thing will be very important. So how many people will affect your solution? How many so how much the whole society will benefit from this solution? And from scalability perspective, how applicable and scalable it is. So is it like a hard thing to even bring to the whole to the people or to community, or is it easy enough to implement it?
Dmitry, I believe that the question of the criteria, it's a whole different story. It's a large one, and it's really important as well. Just to make sure that Andrzej got his answer to the question about the isolation, if it can be understood as a hospital doctors connecting with their remote patients. I believe having the definition that Dmitry just stated about what the isolation is, it can be interpreted, of course, it can be interpreted as such. Two things I would add to this. One, domain mentors will be connected directly to the specific domain, meaning ideally we'll have 3 domain mentors per each domain, meaning isolation, and their role will be to help you understand what the problem actually is about. And we aim to involve them in what's going on in Slack community. They also have their channels, so I think that will be the best place to ask questions about the problem. It's crucial at this early point when you idealize your projects, because you need to understand what the problem actually is. The other thing would be that we plan, as we speak, we plan to make, to conduct and run some series of interviews with people who actually have these problems on different levels, to better understand the real hands-on perspective of where the problems actually appear, where they pop up. So we do it as we speak. We do it on a very short notice, so please be patient about what's coming up next. So I hope, Andrzej, that you got your answer. I know it was quite elaborative in a way, but we're here for you to understand what's going on.
I see the next one from Jarek on ideas, right? So many ideas on Guana look exactly the same when you check description. Are you going to choose one of them or maybe all of them? So for now, we are not choosing the ideas. We're just like publishing them, collecting them. So you have access to all of the ideas through the website. We update it a couple of times per day, publishing on the Hack the Crisis channel on Slack. So it might be easier for you to find the right idea, maybe to reach out to the person who's the author of the idea and start mingling or brainstorming about that idea. The final submissions of ready projects will happen last day, last 24 hours. And that will be the submission of the project. So the idea is not evaluated anyways. It's just a formal check. If there is a name, if there is a name of idea, if there is a proper description, or is it a spam or whatever it is, if there is a project name. So we just check it formally, nothing else. Tom asked the next question on, is it possible to join more than one team, right?
Right, it's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
We already discussed it, Dmitry, right?
you can share. You can share.
I'm not sure if we'll have the same answer, so maybe you should proceed.
Of course, so there is a maximum size of a team, and it's 8, I see, from the website also. And of course, you can rotate between teams. Of course, if a team lead will accept you as a team member, then you're free to go. That's it. But the maximum size of a team is 8, though probably it will be tough to be in every team. Chris, I think your video just stopped, but it's okay. Okay.
All right, we have another question from Philippe regarding data. How should we approach issues connected with the GDPR? It's a really, really good question, very meritorical one. And that is something we're trying to address with a group of domain hands-on mentors. Meaning, right now, as we speak, we speak with law houses, friendly law houses in Poland, to try to address that, to support you with legal most up-to-date knowledge. So there will be their expertise should be available for you in a mentor's legal channel. So we'll let you know about the available channels really soon now, as we have most of them set up by now, and we need to post them on the main channel.
So yeah, if we see that you need some kind of expertise, we will try as best as we can to bring these experts as mentors to you back so they can support you with these issues. All right.
All right, another question from Philip about the pitching session and how it's going to look like.
Of course, a good one. So as you prepare the final submission of your project, you need to prepare up to 2-minute long video, and it's up to you. What do you decide to put inside this video? Would it be a screen cast with some comments? Would it be like your team saying something about it? So it should convince, it should bring value. So domain mentors and organizers will understand that and they will rate this solution. Then top 30 will get to the live streaming pitch, and then you will have again 2-3 minutes probably, and 1-minute question and answer session with the jury. So top 30 projects will get to this final live pitch, which will happen on Sunday afternoon. Anji asks, if we create hardware for presentation, should we record movie? How would it work? I think that will be best, and if you record it, and it will help people to understand what is your project, what is your hardware doing, and how is it helpful, with some comments from you as a team, of course. Philip asks, are there any grading criteria available, or jury is going to decide on their own? So in the terms, the official one, we wrote them and in the regulations. So you can download regulations in PDF in terms and conditions and see that, like, equally there are 4 criteria which are all equally distributed, and only one of them is like the personal individual one for the mentor or for the expert, and all others are significant. They evaluate the level of significance and relevance to the addressed problem, read it as a domain. Other one is on scalability and efficiency in implementation, and the third one is the scale of application of the solution to the society. So that are this one. Michal asks, in what form will the presentation be, final presentation? So if you are in top 30, then you will join the video conferencing to present your project to jury and other participants. Philip asks, so if your project is not connected to a software at all, Then you might put a README in a GitHub or a description or documentation if you wish, but it's not needed. You might bring only documentation, and now this is important part, and the diagrams or the draft or your hardware design or whatever you prepared. Because imagine that you have a source code for hardware. So then, of course, you need to bring the diagram or whatever of this hardware. Great.
All right, so maybe a quick checkpoint at this point. People who jumped in, thanks a lot for joining us. We're still in a Q&A session in reference to the very organizational, general, high-level stuff about the hackathon and its rules and the very basics of it. So feel free to ask questions in the chat box. We see that it's approximately 60 people. Some people joining in, some people are jumping out. So if you have any questions, you might follow through the chat box and what questions were asked. We are recording this. We have Dmitry Zatuchin, we have Wojtek, Janek on the Polish governmental side. So feel free to ask questions. Yeah. So going back to the chat box.
And the chat box is also saved. So all these questions you ask, we also have them in a text form. So it will be easier to get back between text questions and the recording of this Q&A session. Banan asks, Gov people there? Yes, some of them are. Wojciech, Janek, Gavtek, can you pick the last question? And do we have official data sets from government, like official? There are, from my knowledge, there are some of data sets available to everyone that you can download to different sites, from statistical one to different one. But these questions need to be addressed to the data expert from the government part. We will bring this expert to you as a mentor also to the facts and data mentors channel. Andrew, are we required to pair with mentors, or is it optional? So domain mentors, they are not optional. They will help you with to get through the checkpoint actually, and they will be the one who will be in the filter between all submitted projects finally on Sunday and top 30. Okay, how does the checkpoint look like? So imagine the checkpoint is the health of a team and health of the project. So that's the moment when you need to sync. If you are still in the same domain, if your problem did not evaluated to a different domain, or maybe now after you brainstormed after a day or two, the problem stopped to be applicable to the society or to the problems we're solving. So we're checking the state of the problem. So which category it is it still does it still address the issues we mentioned? The second thing is about okay, what kind of expertise are you missing? What kind of skills do you have in your team? and maybe you need someone to join to you, or maybe someone is like being bored. So that's the moment where you can change the team squad formally, and you can ask for active help from domain mentors or hands-on mentors. So you say that's a yellow flag or red flag. That's a blocker for us. We need someone from GDPR, or we need someone from MedTech or whatever to go further, or we are like in a dead end. So or you are exhausted mentally, and maybe you need some support. So that's the health check of your project and your team. And you communicate also on the advance of how far you are. So what if you have a backlog, imagine you have a backlog, and for sure we'll have also a webinar on ideation phase and on getting through the experimentation phase. So if you are in a backlog somewhere, so how far you are, how what are the items are still needed to be addressed. And finally, when you get through these items, both sides, so organizer sides and your side as a team, they are synced and updated, and they know what's going on and how we might help you to get to the finals. So thank you. Should we reach out to mentors, or will you assign them to teams arbitrarily? So we per se, we do not assign arbitrarily anything to teams, but there is a set of domain mentors who are a limited number of them.
Już w zasadzie trwającemu kryzysowi gospodarczemu, kryzysowi na rynku pracy, kryzysowi na rynku usług, tym, co dzieje się w tej chwili.
We have some voice from Fundacja FRC. That's a question which should be asked on chat, I think, right? Chris?
Yeah, I'm not sure what had just happened, but if you happen to have any questions, just feel free to ask in the chat box. So, you know, to keep things in order. I don't think we have Fundacja with us anymore. So maybe, I don't know, some sort of glitch.
Okay.
Let's proceed.
Okay. So just to finish, I think I just cut my sentence before I ended because of attention thing. So domain mentors, they are taking care about teams who are working on the projects from these domains. They are not taking care hands-on all the day off, but just on the checkpoints. So of course you will need to get in touch with them from time to time, and at least one will be connected with a team. So again, I think there is a repetition of the question: is it possible to be in two teams? So yes, it's possible, unless your team size is not bigger than 8, and team accepts this state of art, that you might be in between. What format should be 2 minutes video? You will, so we advise to upload the video to YouTube and make it privately available only to shared people, and these shared accounts we will give you in the official message what kind of email should be shared the video on YouTube. So we can put them all then in one playlist for us. If YouTube is not doable from any reasons, there will be the plan B version. So you can upload the video, but it should be like compressed. It should be less than 50 megas to upload it to a form. If by any reason you cannot upload it to YouTube.
Jag vet inte vad jag ska skriva om. Nej.
Okay. We have 5 minutes more to go before Q&A session ends. The next one will be this evening at 6 p.m. or 18:00 of Polish time.
Коротше, я mums.
To be honest, I love these little interruptions of different people, different countries, putting different.
It was our friend from Latvia, Martins.
Yeah, to be honest, I love
One
it.
of the mentors. Happy to have him and happy to hear his voice, of course.
We have several more minutes, so if you want to, I don't know, jump in, say something, I think that's a good moment to do it. I think we have most of the questions covered. I don't know. I'm looking at the chat box, and I see there's a question from Tom about the 2-minute videos. Did we cover that, Dmitry?
You have some recommendations for tools to use for teams to organize during hackathon. So
I mean, the previous question from Tom, do we have that covered about the 2-minute video?
Yeah, I answered. Yes.
Okay, right.
So tools to organize. So I would just advise to go with the free tools like Trello or others or Asana to work with around the project, and just jump into a free Google Suite or Microsoft Teams or whatever you're happy to work. From what I know, like all of these big giant companies, IT, they shared a lot of useful stuff for also us. And you can reach out directly to mentors from AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft, or whatever. But for project-wise perspective, I think Trello is good enough for backlog. We also working with Trello here in a HackTheCrisis team right now to address tasks and issues. Wojtek, yes, we will share the recording of this Q&A session, and chat is also saved in text. So that's why we are reading the question and we're answering them. Andrew asked, can you just briefly cover the steps required as now for each team? I understand the checkpoint, the 2-minute video, final submission, what else? So what else? You should get through the checkpoint with Domain Mentor, one of these 3 core areas we are fighting with. Next point would be that you need to have a document, like documentation, whatever you can write there inside. Imagine that's the README to your project. Imagine that's an explanation or whatever it is. Imagine that it's a set of libraries or dependencies or tools. Imagine name it. Yes. So documentation. Again, you will need to fill the final submission application through Goanna, which will be the different one from what you submitted now. So the final will have this mandatory fields where you will need to paste a link to something, or upload the document, or paste a link to your YouTube video, or upload this one and then submit it. and checkpoint with domain mentors, again, to repeat, are mandatory, especially the final one on Sunday. Yep. For now, just form a team. Yes. Just for now, just form a team and get through the checkpoints on Sunday and Saturday, the day before, and be proactive. So search for skills, search for mentors. Team Andrew asks, are team members required to join the team in Guyana? No, team members are not required to fill in the same form or whatever. So in Guyana, there is an entity of idea, not a team itself, and all team members are required to join Slack and to work with you to work with you on your private channel if it makes your life easier. Good. One more advice to all of you. Please collect some questions through the day, and we will also share the form so you can put them in a structured way so we can have some of them before. It might help for us to get through the Q&A session next time we'll have this evening, and I think it's good to have more people there during the Q&A session. And yeah, like now we are more than 800 people on Slack. It's I think today we'll have more than 1,000 in the evening. So it's a big force of, it's a big army of social doers who would like to help hack this crisis.
It is, yeah, it's huge. So we have noon now, so I believe it's time to wrap this up. Remember, we have Ask Anything channels. You can ask questions there. We're doing what we can to answer them as soon as possible. We have a really good suggestion from Wojtek Jozewski about converting this to text to make it more absorbable, I think. So just to add one thing, all the organizers and supporters, we unite to act pro bono to make this happen. It will be impossible to mention everyone right now, as we're acting in a really short notice, but we also can't really say enough about how inspiring that is to see how many people involve into that. So we really count on you, your initiative as well, and all the ways you can support us. There's a volunteer channel you can jump into, take up the challenge, share what's going on with your friends and people who can contribute in any way, expertise wise, hands-on wise with the organization. Just do stuff, and yeah, let's do it together. We have another call, another webinar from AWS on 1 p.m. We have another call, another webinar about the business analysis at 4 p.m. Stay tuned for that on the channel. We'll keep you in the loop with everything. Yeah, and great to have you guys again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.